Hey everyone, this is my recap review of Marriage Bootcamp Reality Stars, Season 3, Episode 3, no episode title. So first off, they brought up this episode the fact that JWoww is sort of her reality show name, that she kind of turns on this personality which might not be 100% her, and that Jenny is really who she is. So I thought, kind of in honor of that, I'm going to try to refer to her as Jenny from now on. It's not really a big deal, but I thought it was kind of an interesting point, and it's kind of consistent with her issue of putting fame and money maybe before her relationship. We open up the episode, all the couples are in the morning, they're kind of moving around, getting ready. We see a couple of couples in the kitchen, which is Jenny and Roger and Tracy and Kevin. And Tracy makes a comment about wanting her breakfast vodka. And Roger's like, wait, what is that? Is that just vodka? She's like, no, it's breakfast vodka. And he's like, well, we still call that vodka. Kevin kind of pulls her aside and tells her that he thinks she's been drinking too much. And Roger's like, I'm going to stay out of this. Which is a good idea, Roger. We don't need another Gretchen. And the reason I mention this is because it comes up again later. Now, the counselors are all sitting around talking, and the big thing I got out of that was that they're not really sure if Gretchen and Slade are a real couple. They're not sure after working with them, after doing some research on them, the whole shebang. Now, I think it's a good question. I think they are a real couple in the sense that they're living together, they're sleeping together. They do have an emotional sort of tie together. But I agree that I don't know that they're really, that they're together solely because they want to be together, as opposed to sort of convenience of TV. Now, as Slade said, he's been with 3 housewives on Real Housewives of Orange County. And remember, that was the very first of the Orange County franchises. Before Real Housewives of Orange County, there was no such thing as a real housewife. And if I'm correct, and I'm pretty sure I am, him and his girlfriend at the time got on the show because they had one spot open that they donated to a charity auction. And the winner, which was like $20,000, got to be on the show. And he convinced his girlfriend to do it. So to me, that was kind of significant of who he is. Now, this is what I mean by saying that I don't know if they're really a couple, is that if someone who was on a successful reality show, if Slade met them and they were into Slade, I'm pretty sure he would jump Gretchen in a hot minute to go do his own thing on this new show. I really do think that's kind of the extent of their relationship. It's sort of not quite a business relationship, but the priorities is definitely set up that way. Okay, let's go into our first exercise, which is hot buttons. And talk about hot button topics, things that take you from just sort of kind of frustratedly fighting to like, I want to kill this person instantly. And we all have them, and every relationship certainly has them. And these fights you go round and round on. Now, okay, so we start with Tracy and Kevin. She brings up the way he spends money, hanging out with the boys, as things that bother him. They push a button when you hit a hot button topic. They call it triggering. So lots and lots of like buzzwords sort of in this show. He brings up, you treat me like a child, drinking too much, and it really upsets her. Now, Tanisha and Clive, they don't really want to do the exercise. She says, okay, we'll go do it. I won't trigger you. Which I thought was actually really sweet, and they kind of glossed over it in terms of, because of their dynamics. I thought it was kind of significant that she took that and was like, okay, I already know and understand, so let's just do you. So things he mentioned about her were that she's a gold digger, and then that she doesn't cook, but she certainly eats, which was, ouch, harsh. And then a gold digger, like, is he making a lot of money? I don't know that he got that term exactly right. Jenny and Roger, one of the things that this particular season of this show has done is break down the fourth wall of reality TV, in that they acknowledge cameras a lot. Makes perfect sense in the context because they are all reality stars and reality TV has affected them. So them acknowledging that there's cameras here, to me, does make sense. And it does explain a lot of things. Well, why don't I want to share this? Well, there's a camera right there. I'm already in the tabloid enough. There's some things I like to keep private. So they bring up things like editing issues and this, and they're like, okay, well, you still need to go do it. So they go and do it, and, you know, career and money before him, JWoww coming out, I made a reference to that already, that she puts on this personality or this extra layer or takes away a layer or something. Gretchen Slade, they're not going to do it. They don't want the public to think that that's how they really talk to each other. They are definitely managing their image as their number one priority here. This is way more important than anything else. I don't know if they're looking to do a spin-off show about them as a couple. They're like willing to admit that they have problems, but they want them to be very minor problems. So they decide they're not going to do it. So we don't even get to Trista and Ryan. And the counselors have to acknowledge the fact that these couples have all these barriers up. They don't want to deal with it. Someone said, we didn't sign up for this. And at that point, I need to be like, bull honky, okay? I'm pretty sure this filmed before season 2 came out because they were already advertising it before the season 2 premiere. But I'm pretty sure season 1 was already out because during season 2, I was already watching it on Netflix. So and this show is exactly, when you say marriage boot camp and you say this is going to be a show where we do different exercises to work and improve your marriage, this is exactly what you'd expect. Like, some of them might be a bit extreme, like having them jump into water or having them, you know, fake flames. Like, that aspect I can get. Them saying, like, I didn't expect that, but like standing up there and talking about things that trigger, 150% in the ballpark of what you would expect on a show called Marriage Boot Camp. Not even taking into account the fact that season 1 is already out. Pretty sure they could have watched it. They could have at least watched the first episode, which would have given them all the information they need. So I just have no sympathy for you there. Especially given like what Jersey Shore and Real Housewives and all these shows were like. I don't want to hear it. Don't even talk to me. Anyway, while that's going on with the counselors, Tracy and Kevin get talking, because they did do the exercise, get talking about this whole breakfast vodka thing, the too much drinking thing. So she's like, why am I even here? Is this even worth saving? And they kind of have this like, kind of this friction, and he throws a water bottle, and she's like, I'm getting divorced, and she says she's going to pack up and leave. Clearly it's a trigger, because it went from like, kind of like the kind of annoying thing where you're just annoyed at your spouse to like they're getting a divorce so fast. Clearly there's way more going on. Of course, Gretchen's like, I'm going to go find out why she's letting this trigger her. And I'm like, oh, good job, Gretchen, you learned a new word, you know. And she goes up there and she's like, I just thought we were finally having fun. And I'm like, okay, Gretchen, we get it. You're auditioning to be on the show. Go away. And Tracy's like, no thanks. And Gretchen's like, well, if you need me, babe, just call. And she's like, yeah, okay. It's total, like, not buying it at all. The counselors come in, they do a one-on-one, and they do kind of a typical, you know, when you say this, it makes me feel like this. And then the other person's saying, well, you know, so she says, when you tell me you don't like me drinking, it makes me feel like you're treating me like a child. Well, I am sorry that when I say this, it makes you feel like a child. I will try not to say this because I don't believe you are a child. You know, that kind of thing. And they seem to be doing pretty well. Second exercise. So this is the exercise, the what if your spouse died. So we've had it every season. In this case, they have to go to the morgue and identify the body and say their last words. They, the one who will be in the locker, the morgue locker, and then the one who will be identifying the body. The one who identifies the body is the one who they feel really needs to break through emotionally and acknowledge their feelings and all that. So that is Tanisha, Slade, Ryan, Jenny, and Kevin. So Kevin comes in, he's sad, he's crying, you know, all that. When they bring her out, they're hugging, they're crying, and they're, you know, grabbing each other, and they're leaving the room. Slade, when he sees her, he's like crying, but he's like that really ugly, like, cry, you know, with lots and lots of facial expressions and scrunched up eyes and like no tears. So it's definitely very like, oh, really look like you're crying. Like, you know, I figure he goes, okay, if I went on with this great guy, this is what I need to do. But he doesn't reach out to her. He doesn't touch her. When they bring her out, he's like, I am so sorry. But he like doesn't touch her. And they even acknowledged that a couple times, and he just didn't, later on he uses this excuse that it would be too real. It would make it real. And it's like, dude, I didn't buy that at all. And neither did the counselor, so good on them. Ryan, when he sees her, gets down there, and his big thing is that he never says, I love you first. And he says, whispers in her ear that he loves her, and he loves her, and he wishes he said it more. And she comes out, and she's just crying and crying and crying. And that Tanisha about loses her mind. Apparently, she recently lost her father. She's sobbing. She, runs outside and is throwing up. I mean, this is genuine emotion. I mean, I don't know anybody who can, it was definitely real vomiting, who can instantly force themselves to vomit because they're so upset. So that was pretty genuine. She was really, really shook up. I don't think she got everything out of the exercise she could because she was so focused on that, but, whatever. She's there. That's good. Jenny, she was kind of holding back a little bit. She was really upset, but she was definitely not allowing herself to feel as much as she could. That's kind of how the counselors described it. Roger really calls her back on, you wanted me to do this, and I said I would do it because it would help our future marriage, and now you're holding back, and that's not fair. So they're kind of getting in there. And that's the end of that exercise. So we see a little clip, and I guess Trista has a makeup artist there, so I just kind of wanted to point that out. Do they all have makeup artists on call, or is it something they could pay for, or what? So I was interested about that. It was a little fake back where they were making some joke about crying. Let's see. Gretchen gets on Slade a little bit about, Gretchen has a 13-year-old son with brain cancer, and that's been a reoccurring issue for fans, the fact that he's basically a deadbeat dad, and so they're kind of like, I can't believe he wants to have Gretchen wants to marry him, and he has all these potential, lawsuits, for child support and stuff outstanding. Who is he to have a kid and all that? And he's just constantly kind of pulling away. He'll be upset, but he doesn't really let Gretchen in on any of his stuff. And she makes a comment about, at some point, that she thinks she may love him more than he loves her. And I think she might be right. It's really sad. I'm not the biggest Gretchen fan, but I have to admit I feel kind of bad for her. So Jenny wants to go to bed that night. She's like, I just can't do it. I can't stay up late. And Roger's really getting on her about, once again, about you signed up for this. You need to commit to it. He's a pretty stand-up guy. I mean, as a production person, I would appreciate that attitude of, we signed up for this. We need to do it. You are in Jersey Shore. Don't talk to me about staying up too late. And so anyway, they go down. I couldn't figure out what the big deal was, but then I realized they haven't done the final evaluation. So anyway, they go down for the final evaluations. Let's see. Tracy and Kevin are making big step. Tanisha's getting through it. Roger feels that she needs to work harder. And of course, the whole thing about Gretchen being that she feels like they're getting farther apart during these exercises, which makes me wonder if there's really any substance to their relationship, because it's like the thought of emotionally opening up to each other is pushing them apart, as opposed to the idea of, when you and a spouse go through a difficult time, you pull together because you're on the same team, and that is not what is happening. And I remember what they said about Trista and Ryan, so I'm going to assume that they're okay for now. Anyway, episode 3, that was it. I'm really enjoying it. Hit me up in the comments and let me know what you think of the couples. See you soon.